Only Peter and Andrea would bring us into that kind of an opening. So thank you so much, the two of you. Please be seated, everybody. So my name is Reverend David Hart. I'm one of the ministers at Bedford United Church. And on behalf of Andrea and Peter, I am absolutely thrilled to death to welcome you all here this evening to DeWolf Park in Bedford as they exchange their vows of commitment to one another. I know that it means just the world to Peter and to Andrea to have all of you here with them, sharing in what is both a very intimate and joyous moment and also a very sacred moment as well. And we're glad you didn't elope to Costa Rica or someplace like that, so we could all be here with you, okay? So thank you so much for having us all. I want to extend a particularly warm word of welcome this evening to Edna McGuire, to Andrea's grandmother. It's just a joy and a privilege having you with us this evening as well. Now, I just want to say a couple of words of thank you to a few people, and obviously I can't cover everybody because there's an awful lot of people who have been involved in helping Andrea and Peter get this evening ready. But to John Lindsay Botten and the Celebration Singers, just a great big word of thanks, okay? They're awesome, and you're going to be hearing lots more of their singing in a little bit. Also to Paul Reed, who, along with Andrew there, has been helping to set up all the sound. Thank you so very much as well. To Bruce McCulloch, where's Bruce? He's around here somewhere. He's been involved in setting up all these chairs here. Bruce, you've been awesome. Thank you so much. And also want to just acknowledge Sue, Peter's sister, and Sandy Withers, who are going to be sharing some music with us later on, and all sorts of other people who have been involved. To anyone who's been involved in any way, thank you so very much. I just want to also acknowledge this evening that we've created a worship space here at DeWolf Park. We're not in a church, but we are in God's church. And this sacred space is invoked in a couple of different ways. First, it's been created by a circle of stones that surrounds you on the whole perimeter around your chairs. This circle of stones comes from Peter and Andrea's home communities of Parsboro and Bedford. And not only do we gather as a community within this sacred circle of stones, we also gather with the divine in this circle as well. And that makes this a very sacred place indeed. Following the ceremony this evening, we're actually going to be picking up those stones, and we're going to be heading back to Peter and Andrea's home, and you're going to be using those stones. You're going to be writing a special blessing on them up at the house, and that's going to be their guest book. So another very creative thing. So if I forget to mention it later on, don't leave here without taking a sacred stone a little bit later on. Now, invoking these sacred stones and this sacred space, we're going to place a few stones on our table gathered in our midst. We acknowledge this evening that the spirits of some loved ones departed who cannot attend today. And we're going to invite Peter and Andrea's parents to place stones as a symbol of honoring Andrea and Peter's beloved grandparents who are no longer with us. So at this point in time, I'm going to invite Andrea's mother, Donna, and her father, John, to come forward, and they're going to place a stone in memory of Andrea's grandfather, Vance McGuire. This stone was gathered from County Cavan in Ireland, the ancestral home of the McGuires. and Andrea's paternal grandparents live in Rogersville, New Brunswick, and they're still with us, but they're unable to be here today. And so we invite Andrea's father John to place 2 stones gathered from the family farm in Village St. Pierre, New Brunswick. So would you both come forward to place those stones in memory of the maternal and paternal grandparents? Thank you. Andrea's grandfather Vance McGuire and her paternal grandparents. Now I'm going to invite we're going to remember Peter's maternal grandparents, and we're going to invite Peter's mother Anne to place a stone in memory of Reverend Dr. Borden and Janet Tupper. Okay. These stones come from Berwick Camp, which has been a special place to the family for many generations. If Anne, you would come forward, and Peter's father Kerwin, if you would come forward as well to place stones in memory of Edwin and Helen Davison from the Davison family farm in Halfway River, Nova Scotia. Thank you so much. Our circle includes many people who love these 2, not all who can be here, many who can be here. Thanks be to God. I'm now going to invite Terry McCulloch to come forward, and she is going to share with us Psalm 100, a psalm of praise and celebration, acknowledging the joy of this moment. Terry.
Let us hear Psalm 100, a psalm for joy and giving thanks. Shout for joy to the Lord, all the earth. Worship the Lord with gladness. Come before him with joyful songs. Know that the Lord is God. It is he who made us, and we who are his. We are his people, the sheep of his pasture. Enter his gates with thanksgiving, and his courts with praise. Give thanks to him, and praise his name. For the Lord is good, and his love endures forever. His faithfulness continues through all generations. Amen.
Thank you, Terry. The celebration singers, where 2 or 3 are gathered in his name, the presence of the divine is here. Amen.
Standing in the presence of you, Lord, as we received a calling to meet you here, to glorify you and praise your name. We are here, we received a calling from you, Lord, so now you'll find us standing in the house you to glorify you and praise your name. Where 2 or 3 are gathered in your name, Lord, you will be there to hear our prayer. Where 2 or 3 are gathered in your name, Lord, you will be there. And we declare that we will glorify you and praise your name. Yes, we will glorify you and praise your name.
You all know that Andrea sings in the Celebration Singers, and it's just an incredible gift for her to have her friends and companions in a very special part of her life sharing with her this evening. So Andrea and Peter, I cannot name for you sufficiently what an honor and a joy it is to be here with the 2 of you today as you commit your lives to one another. This feels to me very much like a sacred moment. Sacred because the 2 of you have come to this day not out of the starry-eyed innocence of youth, I had one of those weddings earlier on today, but out of the wisdom and the maturity of deep life experience, an experience born of both suffering and of joy. It's out of this backdrop that the two of you have opened your hearts to one another. And that opening has resulted in the most wonderful gift that life can ever give to any of us, the gift of love. But this moment also feels sacred to me because in the pondering of your story, I cannot help but feel that delightfully delicious sensation that I sometimes get at the back of my neck or in the deep recesses of my heart of a much larger reality, a much larger spirit being intimately involved in the meshing of your two lives together. It truly feels like God is at play in your relationship, and that God has a sense of humor. How else can we explain the fact that the only fellow, Andrea, who ever ditched you in high school is standing right there? Andrea, I must confess, and you know this is true, that when you first told me about Peter, I was absolutely sure you were either on a rebound or you were dealing with a rejection neurosis going back to your teenage years in high school. And I was quite prepared to recommend a good counselor for you, okay? I think I said something like, Andrea, Peter's a really great guy, but he's not right for you. And besides, the timing is all wrong. Go and have a fling, but get over Peter. Oh boy, am I ever glad you didn't take my advice. And I suspect Peter is too. I mean the fling part, Peter. In fact, Andrea, your spiritual intuition was alive and well in this relationship from the start. I don't know, have you all heard the story of what happened to these two? Well, I'm going to tell it to you, okay? Because it is a wonderful story. So here the two of them are. It's just about a year ago, just over a year ago, at the Stan Rogers Folk Fest in Canso. Huge crowds of people there, okay? Neither of them has really thought about the other or had a significant conversation anyways with the other in years. But there in the middle of the crowds at Canso, they reconnect and decide to listen to some music together, right? And who should come on but Richie Havens? Now you all remember Richie Havens, right? Yes, you're all old enough to remember Richie Havens. Summer of '69, Woodstock, he opened Woodstock. Do you remember that? Right? No, maybe you don't. Well, he did. He's a wonderful spiritual human being. Without knowing Andrea and Peter, that they would become a couple someday, he autographs Andrea's CD to Andrea and Peter. And Andrea, you felt the goosebumps right back then. Now, it took Peter a little longer to feel the goosebumps. And for him to feel it, we have to back up a couple of years with his story, okay? So here's the Peter part of the story. Peter's in Ireland, speaking at a convention of gypsies of all things. And he comes across this amazing place called Castle Rock in Mussenden, Ireland. And it's an ancient library built in the form of a temple overlooking the ocean in dedication to some famous person's, lover. It's exquisitely romantic. Pure Peter, right? And Peter says to a friend quite spontaneously, who he's with there at the time, I'm going to propose to my future wife here someday. Not that he had any prospects at the time. Then earlier this year, Peter finds out that the association that he was speaking with in Ireland is having another conference. So he submits a proposal again to speak. He wasn't really sure about Andrea at the time. He wasn't even thinking about proposing. And he's not at all sure that he's going to get this contract in Ireland once again either. So, in the meantime, the two of them decide to head off to Costa Rica for an ecotourism vacation, right? One of those adventure vacations. Peter has no idea if he's going to Ireland, and he has no idea whether or not he's going to propose to Andrea. But in Costa Rica, a challenging mountain, both those things come together. Mount Chiripo is a beautiful spot and requires a long and advanced booking because so many people want to climb it. Peter and Andrea don't know that little detail, and just like naive tourists, they show up expecting that they can climb the mountain immediately. But lo and behold, they discover that that's not possible. But on that particular day, it was possible. And climbing that mountain, Peter achieves nirvana. enlightenment. And he realizes what Andrea was coming to see, that they were meant for each other. The mountain climb, a long and a tough one, reveals to them both the depths of their shared character, their shared commitment, their ability to work together, to overcome obstacles, to support each other in tough places. And at the top of that mountain, Peter has his epiphany. I want to marry this woman. I want to watch my last sunset on this earth with this woman. You are a romantic. You're beautiful. But in his head, he remembers, I can't propose here. I've got to propose at Castle Rock in Ireland. How is he going to swing that without Andrea knowing it? Well, the universe was cooking. Just as they come off the mountain, Peter receives an email that he was being invited to speak at that gypsy conference in Ireland. Bingo! He has a perfect excuse to take Andrea. And off to Ireland they go. Peter conspires to plant a little note along with a picture from Mount Chiripo in the floor of that ancient temple overlooking the ocean. Andrea unknowingly is invited to the temple by Peter. She stubs her toe on a little rock in the middle of the floor. She reaches down to move the rock, bends into a little hole, pulls out a little note with a picture, reads the note. And what does the note say? Will you please be my partner in life and watch the last sunset with me? Oh my goodness. Kids could never come up with anything so romantic. And you know, it just goes on and on, from the purchase of the rings to all sorts of other things. Wonderful, mysterious coincidences, or shall we call them synchronicities. Andrea and Peter, I have come to concur with your deep sense that it sure feels like the universe has been orchestrating a few things in your lives leading you to this moment. But you know, it never could have happened if the two of you hadn't also been ready in yourselves, sufficiently prepared by life for the gift of love that each of you can now be to each other. These two people both share so much idealism, so much faith, so much commitment to life and to community. But to date, you have both been so independent, so focused on reaching and achieving personal goals that I don't think you ever would have survived if he had ditched you in high school. But now you're both ready for the give and take, the sharing and the cooperation that will meld you into an absolutely beautiful couple. Who would have thunk it? God did. I never cease to be delighted at how God loves to overwhelm us with wonder and awe at the workings of this mysterious domain of power and love in which we live. And Andrea and Peter, with you both, with all your family and friends, I will continue to watch with delight for the workings of the Spirit in your new shared life as it unfolds in grace and joy. The two of you individually are such strong and talented people. I'm going to delight to see what happens when we put the two of you together as you share your talents and abilities in serving each other and the world. May God bless and be with you, and make God's face to shine upon you this day and always. Amen. Celebration singers have another gift of music to share with us.
There is a time that we must gift, and turning free with the Spirit breathe. Together, for blessed are our lives, blessed our love, and blessed our promise gathered now. There is a time we know there is a time we watch it, we make our for blessed are our lives, blessed our love, and blessed our promise gathered now. Upon the throne, God will rise, and truth will shine among the lights, and wisdom sing as we arise together, for blessed are our lives, blessed our love, and blessed our promise gathered
Thank you, celebration singers. So, Peter, that time has come, and Andrea, you have heard these words spoken, these songs sung. Is it indeed then your intention to have this woman to be your wife? Come forward and tell me that it is.
Yes, sirree.
And Andrea, is it indeed your intention to have this fella to be your spouse in life, your partner and companion forever? If so, please say it is.
It is.
Now, I'm going to invite the families of Peter and Andrea to please stand at this point in time. These two come from you. They come from your love, they come from your care and support. You have nurtured them through all these years. Do you offer them your blessing as they move into this sacred union at this time? If so, please say, Andrea and Peter, we give you our blessing. Thank you. Please be seated. I'm going to invite everybody else who's here to stand at this point in time. You know, it's often said that it takes more than just a couple of parents to raise a child or to raise a family. It actually takes a whole community. And I often think it's the same with a sacred union, with a marriage. These also require our support, our love, our nurture, our wisdom, our guidance along the way. So I ask all of you, do you pledge your support and your care to Andrea and Peter as they enter into this sacred union? If so, please say, Andrea and Peter, we pledge to you our support. Thank you. Please be seated. Andrea and Peter, will you please come forward?
Check one, check. Always check your equipment.
Please share with Andrea your statement of commitment, your vows at this time.
Andrea, with all my heart, I invite you to be my life partner. I promise to support you and love you through all the seasons of our lives, to be your best friend and your companion, to be patient and compassionate, to work together with you to make our dreams and desires a beautiful thing come true, and to support your calling, to share your gifts and talents as you go make a difference in this beautiful world. To be honest and open with you, to honor the sacred and the spiritual, and to love you unconditionally to this moment to our last, and to hold you close from this beautiful sunset to the last one that we shall share together.
Peter, I invite you to be my life partner, to love and support you through all the seasons of our lives, to be your best friend and companion, to be patient and compassionate with you, to work together to achieve our dreams and desires, to support your calling as you go forth and share your gifts and talents to make a difference in the world, to be open and honest with you, to honor the sacred and the spiritual, to love you unconditionally throughout the rest of our lives together, and to hold you close from this sunset till our last.
Good doggy, good doggy.
Only with Andrea. Riley's an important part of this too. A very important part of this. Peter, will you please take this ring and place it on Andrea's ring finger and repeat after me. Andrea, I give you this ring
Andrea, I give you this ring
as a symbol of the love we share
as a symbol of the love we share
and of the vows
and of the vows
we have exchanged to this day.
we have exchanged on this day.
Slide that little rascal all the way in.
Yeah.
Good. How's it feel? Feel good? Andrea, place this ring on Peter's ring finger. And please repeat after me. Peter, I give you this ring
Peter, I give you this ring
as a symbol of the love we share
as a symbol of the love we share
and of the vows
and of the vows
we have exchanged this day.
we have exchanged this day.
And slide that on. Yes. Anything worth doing is worth taking a little effort. That's right.
Ain't coming
I'll
off.
get it on, don't you worry.
He's never going to get it off. That's the point.
Am I hurting you?
Yes! Hold hands, will you both? Peter and Andrea, in the presence of the sacred divine and all your friends and family, and by the authority vested in me by the United Church of Canada, I am hereby delighted to declare you both to be friends, lovers, companions, partners in life forever. Amen. I think a big smooch is in order. Don't they just look beautiful together? Yes, absolutely. Just gorgeous.
I got it with my feet.
Okay, if you two can hold hands.
Okay.
In the sacred spiritual tradition from which Peter and Andrea emerge, there is a sacred meal. A meal is a symbol of intimacy and openness, vulnerability and hospitality. A meal is a symbol of shared love and shared life. And this is the meal that Jesus implemented on our behalf to draw us together into sacred community around him. My friends, this is bread of life. And this is the cup of blessing, a cup of great joy. Peter and Andrea are going to share this meal with one another, and as they do so, John Lindsay Botten is going to have a special gift of music to share with us. Amen.
This is the day that the Lord has made in his own special way. A picture to frame where people are gathered together in God's name. Well, that time is here, the time where all the troubles should disappear. But that's not the case. This is just one obstacle in the human race. Yet I believe that the road will be much easier once those solitary days are gone. As soon as the two of us are together, it should be smoother sailing from this point on. The promise we make is the everlasting guideline that we take into this world of doubt. Yet with our confirmation we can figure this one out. As soon as you're with me, I feel stronger and better instantly. And now that you won't go away from my life, that is all I need to know. 'Cause I believe that the road will be much easier once those solitary days are gone. As soon as the two of us are together, it should be smoother sailing from this point on. Once those solitary days are gone, as soon as the two of us are together, it should be smoother sailing from this point on. As soon as the two of us are together, it should be smoother sailing from this point on. It should be smoother sailing from this point on.
For ages, the dove has been a symbol of peace and love.